Hey students, welcome to Module 3. I wanted to say the case studies this week were fantastic. I haven't had such a good overall score in any of my courses for quite a while, so you guys did fantastic. I did want to do one follow-up though on number 2 in part 4. So for the question regarding the genetic counselor, there is a 25% chance that these two people would have another child with the disorder. And I wanted to point out why that is the case. If you didn't already find this in your research, let's check this out together. So we're looking at two unaffected people, right? These are both carriers, so neither of them had the disorder necessarily, but they carried the genetic code for it. If they had one more child, there's a 25% chance that that child would be completely unaffected. There's a 50% chance, so these two purple people, that they would be unaffected just like the parents. And then there's a 1 in 4 chance, so 25% chance, that the child would be affected by the disorder as their first child was. So knowing that, these parents will have to make an informed decision going forward. My second note on this is that when you are a healthcare professional, you cannot have an opinion on this. You're allowed to have a personal opinion and keep that to yourself, but you are not allowed to voice that opinion or to sway the parent's decision. That's incredibly important in healthcare. There's a lot of ethical issues that go into this scenario. And other genetic scenarios too. So keep that in mind. When you are in work mode, your opinions don't matter. That's a good way to think of it. You can have those opinions, but you cannot voice those opinions to your patients. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and take a look at next week's case study. So this is due in Module 4, but you have access to it now. This question is probably the hardest and most time-consuming in the case study 2, so Module 4 document. This can be a little confusing at first. So take a look at this image right here. It's a flowchart or a timeline of what's happening in your body. So at the top, if you have a drop in arterial blood pressure, there are several things that are going to happen. The sympathetic nervous system activates, and it does different things to different body parts. So the sympathetic nervous system has actions on the heart, it has actions on arteries, and actions on veins. You'll follow these arrows to note where those actions occur. And I'm going to give you the first 3 answers, just so you get the idea here. So on the left side over here, the sympathetic nervous system is acting on the heart, and it's doing something to the heart rate, and it's doing something to the force of contraction. Alright, so we know that sympathetic nervous system ramps us up. It's our fight or flight response. So the blank here is for increase or decrease. The sympathetic nervous system is going to increase your heart rate. Now you can't fill in this box because it's an image. So you'll write down here at the bottom, number 1, increase. That's your answer. And then my explanation here is in the parentheses. You don't need to explain, but I just want to make this really obvious for you. The increase is because the sympathetic nervous system increases the heart rate. We know that. We follow that arrow down to number 2. So what does an increased heart rate do to a cardiac output? Does it increase or decrease it? If your heart's beating faster, there's going to be more blood pumped per minute. So that's number 2. We have an increase in the cardiac output. Number 3, let's go back up to the top here. Does the sympathetic nervous system have an increase or a decrease on the force of contraction? Remember, sympathetic is fight or flight. Everything speeds up and goes faster. So that's also an increase because the sympathetic nervous system stimulates cardiac muscles to increase in size, and not in size, but in force, so they contract harder. So keep that in mind as you're looking through this flowchart. You need to answer increase or decrease for each of these numbers. And if you have questions about that as you go, consult your textbook. That's going to be a good place to look. A quick internet search is always a good place to go too, as long as you're looking at reliable sources. and I think you'll be able to work through this, but it will be time consuming, so allow some time for that. Okay, to finish up case study information, I want to remind you that when you submit your work, it should look similar to this, right? We're going to leave the question number there. Don't take that out. Write your answer underneath the question. I appreciate when the answer is in a different color. That makes it easier for me to grade and faster for you to get your grades back. It's also easier for you to notice if there's anything missing from your answers. APA citation for all of your resources and citations. And lastly, be careful about where you get your information. All right? Online resources can be fantastic. If you see something that's too good to be true and it looks like, if I take something from this website, it might not be, one, valid, and it might not be full of integrity, right? There's a lot of cheating sites out there. Just know that I'm going to find it and I'm going to report it. So use good references. If you have questions about that, let me know. Okay, I'll check in later. Let me know if you have questions in the meantime. Thanks.